I bought the BC Rich Warlock with the 15-watt red combo amp. That was my first piece of gear. It was awesome.
Well, my first guitar was Tolkai Stratocaster, and I had a Marshall 50-watt combo.
Yeah, my first keyboard was a legendary Yamaha DX7 keyboard that my dad got, but then it kind of became my first keyboard.
A guitar called Vantage and not Vintage, some crappy, $200 guitar, which I bought because I thought the shape was cool. It was a copy of an Arenberg, army color, army green. And so that's the first electric guitar I got, very, very simple. And so that was it. Because when I first started learning a Scream Bloody Gore cover, they were learned on acoustic guitar. So it took a while before I owned my first electric guitar.
I got my first acoustic guitar when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old, and that was my first musical instrument which I've ever gotten. So from there onwards I moved slowly to playing drums, and here we are.
Funny enough, my first piece of gear was a Yamaha. It was a shitty blue Yamaha guitar. It was actually Julian's. He sold it to me.
I got it for free.
You fucking bastard.
I got it for free back when when I ordered my first guitar. But yeah, go on.
And I had a PV Rage, a little small 15-watt practice amp.
Yeah, I don't think it was a Rage. I think it was a Bandit 112.
Oh yeah, you did have a Bandit.
Yeah, it was a Bandit. Yeah, that was the first combo amp that I ever bought as well. So I kind of, when I moved on to guitars, then Rafael bought the equipment off of me. But we weren't even in a band back then. It was just kind of we lived really close by to each other. We just traded gear.
Or I bought it from you.
Yeah. So, but my first guitar actually wasn't that Yamaha. It was, I think it was the ESP F50 in cherry red, from what I remember. And that was the first guitar that I thought was super fucking cool.
Wait, is that the one that you got custom?
No. That's later with the custom body and everything.
Okay.
And then I had to get a custom neck on it because I like that shape. But yeah, that was the first guitar that I got, and the first amp was the Bandit 112. But the first guitar ever was the acoustic Epiphone. I think whichever one was $150 at Sam Ash. So my dad actually bought that for me when I was no, I bought that when I was 13. He pitched in $50 for it. But yeah, that's the first piece of gear that I ever had.
I got a Samick drum set. Think that was the 5-piece. It was either that or it might have been a 7-piece or whatever. But I played drums for 11 years, so that was my thing. Yeah, and a karaoke machine that I would use to put one tape in and then record, playing drums, and then go over and play guitar over that and bounce them all down to where it was just this mess, and then I'd do vocals. So that was pretty fun.
My first piece of gear other than a guitar was a Yamaha GW50 digital multi-effects system that I saved up for no joke, 9 months. I saved up money from mowing my neighbor's lawn, to buy this thing because I had no way of generating distortion with my first guitar other than this multi-effects. And it had compression, it was a good compression too. It had distortion, it had EQ and amp simulation, delay, reverb, phaser, chorus, flanger, and then programmable MIDI backing tracks. And so a lot of people ask what the secret was to the sound of our first album, The Gallant Satellites, and I usually tell them Windows 98 and recording in a bedroom was the secret, but actually the real secret to the sound of The Gallant Satellites was the fact that all of the guitar was recorded through the Yamaha GW50. The problem being that it had an 18-bit input-output DA conversion, so there was just this constant of quantization noise in the background. I did eventually sell it, but even though I used a Marshall amp to get distortion on the Gallant Satellites, actually all of the time-based effects, including the wah, which I used an outboard pedal for, were that Yamaha GW50. So the first real record that I ever played on, I used that very first piece of effects equipment, and I still think about it a lot.
In junior high, I played bass in a punk band because my best friend got I don't know, he called playing guitar in the band first. So I had to figure out how to get a bass because we formed the band before any of us knew how to play or had instruments. So yeah, we wanted to play like Operation Ivy covers and No Effects and Minor Threat and all these cool bands. And I like the bass players in all those bands. I thought playing bass was pretty cool. So I did the same thing, mowing lawns, trying to save up all this money for months. And I mean, when you're like 12, making money is impossible. There's no hope of saving up even $100, let alone $300, which was what I really wanted. So all summer, and then I went to school that year, and we still talked about the band. We had a name, which was Final Warning, by the way, which is pretty punk, I thought. Still holds up, dude. And then, yeah, dude, I got to hand it to my pop. He saw this desire I had to do this thing, and he hooked me up with a cheap bass made by Harmony and a Crate BX 110. It was a super tiny practice amp, which turned out to be a little bit of a bummer because the guitar player got a PV Rage 112, so he was just blasting, the bass amp had to be cranked all the way, which was pretty, it was tough to be the bass player and not have the low end, but eventually I got like a cool PV TNT 115 so I could keep up. Those were the glory days, man. Probably never be that good again.
Yeah, so I was kind of lucky enough that my dad played, and he gave me this 80s Strat that was called like an Elite Series model that they were making, which I think was their answer to like all the Jackson nonsense. Sorry for people that like Jackson guitars. But the neck on this thing is like insanely nice, super, super fast and easy to play. Like probably the best feeling neck I've ever played in my entire life. But the body's like super, super heavy for a Strat. It's like insane. Like I think that Strat is heavier than the bass I play right now by a significant amount. It's heavier than the Jaguar bass I play. Yeah, and he gave it to me, and I still have the guitar. It's really, really just like I've never played a guitar that felt like it. It's like the neck is so playable. It's got a real heavy body. It's got buttons to switch on the different pickups instead of the toggle switch. Really, really cool sounding guitar. Like the way it plays. And I mean, I was just lucky enough that my dad played and gave it to me as sort of when I think I must have been like 13 or 14 and just started to get interested in like really playing. I think I wanted to be like Slash because I knew he was half black like me. Then I realized Guns N' Roses sucked later, but that's a different conversation.
I use in dive only mode. And essentially what that is just, it makes it so the bridge stays still. I don't really have to do any tweaks on the road. And it still gives me the capability of being able to dive my